Red Edition, welcome and happy day. Liberals, they are mentally encumbered. I just wanted to share that with you because here I'll show you why I'm saying that. One of the many reasons, at least. Tennessee, there's a psychology professor there that recently passed her views on to her students with regard to homosexuality, and she had a mandatory project, and she says, you guys have to favor what I say. That's a quote, favor what I say. Not even very good verbiage for an instructor or a teacher, huh? She assigned the class in addition to wear Rainbow Coalition ribbons in support of homosexual behavior. Who are these people? They walk among us. I mean, get over yourself. Many students complained, thank goodness for that, and they said, what's going on here? They said what I said. Or say, I don't care if you marry a Bela, hey, but don't force it on me. Don't tell me that it's normal or the same as we are. I know they're getting all the kind of laws that we get, the same laws. But one day, all you liberal guys, you're going to look outside and see the homosexuals walking around with all the kids in arms and hands, and they're all kissing and holding hands, and you're going to say, oops, maybe they're not the same as us, because guess what? They're not. We're all the same. We respect everybody's thing. Go out and do what you want to do, but when you want exactly what somebody else has, when you're not exactly the same, might be a short circuit there. Just something for y'all to think about. In June 28, 1959, Stettler, Alberta, Canada, a family of 7 was murdered, and the boy who did it, the young man, I should say, Robert Cook, he was hung. Hanged would be the proper verbiage, maybe, but in any event, that was in 1960. But it was an interesting story. He actually broke out of prison. He was on the loose for several days, and I lived in Edmonton, Alberta at that time, and I was 9 years old, having been born in 1950. Hey, I'm old and wise. In 1960, when he actually escaped, I remember my dad saying to me, hey boy, go to the closet and get the rifle, because we're going out to Seba Beach for the weekend. So of course I did that, and he loaded it and he put it in the car, and every man in the country, in the province I should say, was doing the same thing. You didn't rely on somebody else to protect you. Why would you? There was a murderer on the loose. A fella had killed 7 people, so you put a gun in your car because your family was in the car, and nobody cared. Today, do that, and the police will arrest you. They'll stop looking for the killer. They'll pick you up. I'm talking about Canada. Somebody, you Canadians, get your act together and change governments so they can fix the problem. Maybe do that. In Detroit, they've had bad governments, corrupt governments, and it's just an American tragedy. And this is what unions and governments with no brains have done there, and they're all liberals. This is it. Too much government, stupid people in government, unions, as said, they literally drove the auto industry to Japan. Used to have a population of 1.8 million people. Today there's 700,000 people, and they're going out of there every day and maybe every hour. Everybody wants to get away. It's so dangerous. It's a dangerous place to live. There are close to 100,000 vacant lots, 100,000 abandoned buildings, almost 50,000 empty houses, mansions worth millions of dollars sell for tens of thousands of dollars, and the average house in Detroit sells for $7,500. $7,500. Wow. If you're thinking about moving there, though, take a flashlight, because there's no street lights. All the bad guys come out during the day so they can see what they're doing, and they steal the copper from the lights, and there's not enough policemen because, of course, the unions, they paid them so much in the past that no longer can that happen, and the pensions are broke. Everybody's broke, so people just watch them steal the copper, and there's no lights to set. Pierre Trudeau recently was voted the best prime minister of all time in Canada. I marvel at that. I think the people weren't given proper information before the vote, what they should have been told before they said who was the best, and then, of course, were given the list. They should have said, oh, by the way, this is what these prime ministers did. This one took money in a bag, and this one did this, and on and on. Here's what Pierre Trudeau did. He was a socialist/communist dictator. You pick the verbiage, but he had charm and he had charisma, and I got to give him credit. He set out to change the country, and did he ever? It's never been the same since, and no government has ever tried to fix it. Wow, that's another story. He brought in the Official Language Act, the metric system, the mandatory health care, gun control, provincial wealth redistribution, the National Energy Program. He legalized abortion. He maintained, he did the, what am I saying, mainstream the homosexuality movement. He was influenced by world dictators, and he was a student of the Marxist system. And, you know, he's just a bad guy. He brought in the multicultural things, but again, a bad guy politically for the country, because everything changed. Taxes went up 20 times in his first term. 20 times. And the country hasn't been the same. It can't recover unless they get a man to man up, or a woman to say, hey, we're here to fix it. Now get out of my way. British Columbia. Not very good. Britain, that'd be it. That'd be the UK, the president there. Prime Minister, having a hard time. Work with me here. David Cameron is his name. He thinks he's a conservative. That's the party he represents. I always find that interesting because so many people that call themselves right-wing, they don't pass the test for that if you write it all down and do the little check marks. In any event, he is saying, I'm going to now measure the nation's happiness. How do you do that? How do you measure happiness? And this is a country that has no money, right? And he's going to put several $1 million into this, and we're going to measure the well-being and happiness of individual people. There's a long list of things we're going to do here. Good luck with that. Let me end today with a story. Lighten up a little bit, will you? There's a company, and this is actually a true story, but it's kind of funny. You have to get your facts straight always, and here's why. Metal Steel. Mitel Steel. Having a hard time, huh? Mitel Steel, that's the name of the company. It was time for a shake-up, said the company. So they hired a brand new CEO, and they said, would you fix this mess? It's almost like we're government. We're a little bit out of control. So he had a tour of the facilities, and he noticed one guy leaning up against the wall. The room was full of other workers, and he wanted them to know that he was in charge and there was going to be changes there. So he strolled over to the guy leaning up against the wall, and the young fellow was pretty surprised, and the guy said, hey, how much money do you make in a week? And the boy said, I make $400 a week. Why? And the new CEO said, you wait right here and don't you move. And he went to his office. He came back in 2 minutes, and he handed the fellow $1,600 in cash. He said, here's 4 weeks pay. Now get out of here and don't you ever come back. That felt pretty good now. So the new CEO, he looked around at all the other people and said, hey, does anyone here want to tell me what that goofball did? What was his job description? From across the room, a voice said, he's a delivery guy from Domino's Pizza. Y'all, tomorrow we're going to have more for you from the right. See ya.